All right. Hi, I'm Alexandria from MindWalker Games, and I am currently developing Sentinels, which is a tower defense first-person shooter hybrid. And it's a really exciting game that we're hoping will be getting out of early access within the next year. And we're also working on a VR spin-off called Onslaught VR that basically just takes Sentinels and puts it into a virtual sports arena.
Okay, so in a nutshell, what kind of game are we going to talk about today?
So we're focusing on Sentinels because right now, well, I just moved like a month ago and I don't have my Oculus set up yet. So Sentinels is, like I said, a tower defense first-person shooter hybrid. And I played an obscene amount of Orcs Must Die, like a lot of Orcs Must Die. So I love tower defense games. And for anyone who used to play, oh god, it was an old Adobe site mini clip. I think it just had a bunch of old shot games, and there was one there called Calabash Brothers, and I played it when I was little, and that's honestly when I started loving tower defense games. I love the fact that you kind of sit back and watch, but I love the upgrading and seeing how big I could make this little kill zone, and it was a lot of fun. And I met Rob, who's started MindWalker Games 6 years ago at this point, I think, and he had just started working on Sentinels, and he was looking for a voice actress. And I kind of do voice acting as a hobby, and so I offered to help him with that, and one thing led to another, and now it's 5 years later and I've been working on this game for 5 years. So I'm just kind of a self-taught game developer. And Sentinels has a lot to offer. It's gone through a lot of iterations, but basically we took all of the fun of the tower defense, of building the towers and upgrading them and making all of these kill zones, but we give you the opportunity to jump into the gun and shoot everything down yourself. So it's like, I'm sure other people who have played tower defense know how frustrating it is when one thing gets by your defenses and it's just running away, and you kind of have to watch. So in this one, you can jump in a gun and literally just shove a missile up its butt, and that's what I love most about it. And we implemented this mobile gun platform that lets you move around the map and boop things off the level, and we're adding all of these really fun things. My personal favorite is we add in custom explosions, so instead of fire or whatever, you can have confetti or bubbles or oh god, we have one other. We're adding in fireworks, but that one isn't in the live game yet. I'm completely spacing right now, but we'll also do holiday explosions. We had Christmas ones, we had holiday ones with bats, or Halloween ones with bats and things like that. But we don't want to be too serious. We want to have a really fun, kind of zany game that takes the best of both worlds with tower defense and first-person shooting, and I think that it's turning out pretty great.
Okay. I played Orcs Must Die too, that was really fun.
Isn't it great? Like, Defense Grid. I was spacing on the name. I couldn't remember. Defense Grid was the other one I played. Orcs Must Die, Defense Grid, and Calabash Brothers. They're the holy trifecta of tower defense games for me.
I forgot the other one I played. It had aliens. That's all I remember. It had aliens, and like every tower you put down, it had like guns, and you could run around and kill everything too.
Sanctum?
Yeah, that one.
I like Sanctum, and Sanctum's actually been compared to ours a lot, but theirs just, to me, had a very, very different feel. Sanctum felt a little bit less like a tower defense to me, but I still liked it.
Yeah, I like that that you had the option to just shoot things, that you didn't have to wait until the fight was like over every time you put the towers down.
And that's exactly what we have with Sentinels. You basically put the tower, and then you can jump right in, and we have 3 different commanders currently, Sam, Kat, and Frank, and each one has their own weapon. So Sam has a machine gun, Kat has a tracking missile launcher, and Frank, who is my personal favorite, has a grenade launcher, which is just kind of screw this general direction. His weapon is amazing. And each one of those also have an upgraded weapon, and it is specialized towards just their turrets. So, for example, when you jump into the gun, you're locked to that commander's turret until you leave the turret. So, say I'm sniping, and I realized, you know what? I really need a grenade launcher. You have to go to a launch pad, which takes you back out to tactical view, where you can place more towers or whatever, and then you can jump back into Frank's gun, get the grenade launcher, and, you know, nuke them into orbit.
Yeah, that would be a nice thing to do. I mean, if you have a tower defense, there have to be enemies that have to die, right?
Exactly. And we also have this one tower, which is our newest addition. They're called Magno bombs, and they're basically magnetized bombs. And my favorite part is that, so when you're in the gun, and so not in turret mode, not placing turrets when you're just on the field, they follow you around like little ducklings, and you can shoot them at enemies, and they're magnetized. So if they get close, they'll cling to the enemy and explode. And you can just have this little horde of magnetic balls of death just following you. And not gonna lie, that's my new favorite thing to do in the game. I will just kind of ignore the objective and just drag around the Magno bombs and just kind of have fun with that, because you can pick them up and throw them too. I'm describing it poorly, but hopefully we should be able to show some video here of that in action, where when you click, you can hold them up and then just launch them at the poor victim of your choice.
You have
it's pretty fun.
Very funny way to talk about violence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not the first time I've heard that.
So, what inspired you to become an indie game developer?
Well, it was definitely an accident. I've always loved video games. Probably not the typical first-person shooter video games, but I was obsessed with Pokemon growing up, and I played all sorts. I was the main kid on the block to have a PlayStation, so I was very popular because we could. I played Spyro. Spyro was the very first game that I really clearly remember playing, and I think that just kind of started a love story with video games. But I never even considered being a game developer. It just wasn't on my radar. And then I ran into Rob, who, like I mentioned before, he's the one who started MindWalker Games, and he's worked on games forever. He made an amazing fighting game 20 some odd years ago, One Must Fall. And that One Must Fall 2097, was an amazing fighting game. And he just went from that and worked on PlanetSide and worked on all of these big games, and he decided he wanted to make a tower defense first-person shooter hybrid. So I met him at Comic-Con, and like I mentioned before, a voice actor is just kind of a hobby. I'd like to make that into something, but not quite there yet. And so I offered, sure, I'll voice your characters. And he was working on it completely alone at the time. No one else, just him. And at the time, I was taking care of my my great aunt, who was very sick. So I was just kind of like a live-in caregiver. I couldn't really leave the house. There wasn't a ton for me to do, but I had to be there at all times in case she fell or in case she needed something. So I had a lot of pseudo free time. So when Rob needed help with something, I just offered, like, sure. And so I ended up turning into this fly-by-night indie developer where I just learned how to do it on YouTube. And I ended up loving it. So I'm like, wait, I like doing this. This is fun. So I just kept doing it. And I just learned new things and learned new skills and really enjoyed it. And then I blinked and 3 years had passed and I'm an indie developer somehow now.
It's not really a long time. If you learned a whole job in 3 years.
Yeah, I don't do things halfway. Go big or go home. Because I didn't really do anything else in that time. I mean, I went to Comic-Con, but that's about it.
Yeah, that happens.
I had to make up for lost time, you see.
What makes this game different from others?
Well, other than the fact that we take tower defense and you still get to go and shoot stuff. I mean, that's the main thing, and that's what I enjoy the absolute most. But I think what makes it different is that we really, really tried to give you this this seamless experience where it doesn't feel like somebody took a tower defense and then just dropped first-person shooting on top of it. We wanted to integrate it as much as possible, and we gave it a fun story, and we tried to teach you the mechanics with like with methodologies that make sense with what's happening in the story and in the lore, which I had way too much fun with. And what also makes it different, other than having two utterly obsessed game developers who won't leave it alone until it's perfect, is basically we're working on different modes. So Sentinels is the one that has tower defense and first-person shooting. But then we made another mode that was originally for testing, but it turned out to be fun, and that one we called Onslaught, and that one isn't tower defense. It's all done for you. So all of your turrets are placed and upgraded just completely by itself. It's placed very strategically, so it's not something, it's not like a negative. But then your job is just to run around and shoot things. So we added that in, and that went over pretty well and people liked it. But then my personal favorite is Skyguard mode. And all of these are included in the main game. You basically they're all just there together. If you have Sentinels, you have Onslaught, and you have Skyguard. Skyguard is tower defense only. So you can't jump into the gun, and your turrets are increased in power to compensate. But we added in, and this is in all three modes, not just Skyguard, but we reduced cooldowns on a bunch of these commander specials. So some of them are pretty standard, like an artillery barrage, which is just dropping about a ton of molten lava on the enemy of your choice. You know, pretty standard. We also have a surgical strike, which is that, but smaller, if you want to just make sure you get the bad guy, because there's critical hit points, and that one can critically hit. So if you have an armored enemy that's just not going down, you can use the surgical strike. So we try to give you as many options as possible so you can build your strategy accordingly. My personal favorite is, the proper term is a Rift Wraith, which is very hard to say, but it looks cool when it's written. And we call him Nibbler. And basically it's this, you drop it, and it's a little tiny circle of an interdimensional being. And if you drop it near an enemy that's near death, it'll eat him, and then he'll get bigger and continue going. So if you can get a whole group of enemies down to low health and then just drop Nibbler in the middle of them, they're all gonna die. And it's just this beautiful wave of decimation. If you don't, and he eats an enemy that isn't low health, then he basically just burns up and dies, and you wasted a cooldown. So he's a high risk, high reward commander special, and he's definitely my favorite. And we also have a gravity bomb, which is, if anyone's played Overwatch, you know Zarya's graviton surge. It just catches everyone together. That's what this is, except it does it with a lot more force. So you drop it, and it gathers all the enemies together and squishes them together. Lots of collision damage, and it's a lot of fun, and you can also drop Nibbler on top of that. You waste 2 cooldowns, but it's really cool. So with Skyguard, it lets you focus way more on the strategy aspect, which has always been my big thing about tower defense. First-person shooting's great, but that's the aspect that I love, and honestly, Skyguard is quickly becoming my favorite out of all of them. And I really like the fact that we can offer all three with one game.
It's funny how we are opposites in that. I mean, I would just prefer the shooting stuff and build the towers in the second place, basically.
You are not the only one. That's why you get to go over into the Onslaught hallway, and I'll go chill out in the Skyguard hallway.
Good thing that there's different modes, so everyone can enjoy the game.
We really want to try to give a little bit for everyone, and that's been our biggest goal. Like, I really don't like it when developers turn up their noses and act like somehow they're better than the people that are playing their game, and they act like, well, they know better, so this is what you're going to get, take it or leave it. I don't want to be a my way or the highway developer. I mean, this is my first game, obviously. This is not Rob's first rodeo, but this is definitely mine. And my big thing is making sure that when we update things and when we add new stuff, it's something that the community wants, not just what we want. And that's been my biggest focus.
I think that's pretty important.
Just doesn't seem like it's happening enough these days, so I'm happy to be the change I want to see in the world.
True, a lot of indie developers just make the game they always dreamed of, and don't check with the community what they think about it.
Yep, and it's you know, more power to them for following their dream, but some wiggle room is pretty necessary when you're making something for other people to play.
Yeah, you have to make something at least some people will like.
Right. That's our goal.
It has to be more than just you.
Yeah, that's called a passion project. If it's just, if it's just your dream and you're making it for yourself, then that's A-okay. You do you, partner. But if you're releasing it on Steam with the intention of a lot of people playing it, gotta listen to what other people think, even if it's not very fun to hear.
Indeed. So what game engine are you using, and why did you decide to use that?
So we're using Unity, and the main reason we're using it is because Rob's been using it for basically ever. So he knows all the ins and outs, and he's very skilled with it. I'm just learning. One of the things that Rob is very good at is just making custom tools in Unity. And so what he's done is he's made a bunch of custom tools for level editing and for trying to think of the word, but basically editing the amount of enemies in waves. It gives us a lot of flexibility to adjust and fine-tune all of the difficulty levels without actually having to go in and manipulate a bunch of code. He just made a bunch of custom tools where we can all just get in there and adjust it quickly, and it's made life a lot easier. I've heard good things about Unreal, but considering we've been using Unity for so long, I think this is where we're going to stick.
Yeah, mostly developers end up choosing one engine, they make one game in it, and they just stick with that one, because why learn another one if you already know a good engine?
Yep, that's exactly where it is, and I'm still very much learning, and I don't want to jump ship when I haven't even mastered Unity yet. It's like, nope, Unreal, you can wait.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. Far in the future. Not right now.
Indeed. What setbacks did you encounter during the project, and what did you learn from them?
Oh boy, lots of setbacks or learning experiences to make it sound slightly better. Since this was my first release, I did a lot of research, but as I'm sure a lot of people know, everything you read on paper doesn't necessarily translate into what will actually happen. And I was very bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and naive and unaware. And so I made a lot of rookie mistakes. I think looking back, we both agree we definitely released into early access too early. We were just really excited, and we thought we had something good, and we were looking forward to getting people's opinion on the game. But we released during a time where early access was really looked down upon, because there were a bunch of people who were just taking money and then dropping the game like a hot potato. Like people just weren't finishing early access games, so it already had a bit of a stigma. And we really should have worked harder to cultivate an audience before releasing into early access. I think that definitely hurt a lot, especially in the beginning, because it was a slow grind to get back up to a point where we were getting any sort of visibility whatsoever, because it's like most every person who's gotten hold of our game has really loved it, but finding people and getting visibility has been this constant uphill struggle that, I read so much, read so many books, read so many things, and it did not prepare me. So I know better now. We're not going to do the same thing for Onslaught VR. We're preparing that one properly. And all subsequent games, we learned we will go about releasing differently, because when we originally released into early access, we did think it had a different feel and a different we thought it would have a different reaction for people than it ended up having. So that's the biggest setback. But I think that considering we've stuck with it and we've made consistent updates and we haven't given up and we haven't stopped, I think that we're starting to see some more activity. We're starting to see more people playing it. And once we actually release into full release, I think that we're going to be in good shape.
It's important to be in good shape.
Yes, it is. More ways than one. So learned a lot. Anyone listening to this, don't release even if you think you're ready. Please, dear Lord, make sure your marketing is in place and you already have people who are interested. Don't make the same mistake we did. You can come back from it, but it'll take a while.
Yeah, if your marketing isn't good, it's like you are releasing an amazing game, but no one knows about it.
Yep. It's not like we had no marketing. We had some, but not enough. Definitely not enough.
I hope you have a good team for the full release then.
Yes, we're actively trying to find publishers to work with to get a proper advertising team set up, because it's still just me and Rob. Like, Rob does the vast majority of the coding and everything, and I take care of everything that falls through the cracks. I take care of a lot of the tuning stuff and basically anything that needs doing, but I am nowhere skilled enough to handle the bulk of the code, so that's all on him. And then between the two of us and real life saying hello with a lockdown and quarantine and a global pandemic, it's been a little difficult to make sure that everything that needs to get done is getting done in a timely manner. So hopefully we'll be getting a publisher soon who likes the look of our games and will be wanting to work together with us.
Yeah, well, a publisher can be useful. I think as far as a new indie game developer, what were you telling me?
Marketing! Market all your things. Get Twitter, get Instagram, get Reddit, get it all. That would be the first thing. Second thing would be not to worry too much about having an official degree. Rob didn't get a college degree in programming, and he's easily one of the best programmers I know. And all of my schooling was, I thought I was going to be an English major.
That didn't work out.
That didn't happen at all. And then I was going to be an ornithologist, and then my life just took a 180, and now I'm a game developer. And yes, we made a lot of mistakes, and I'm sure college would have helped a little, but honestly, from a lot of my friends who did get a college degree, they said it wasn't really helpful for anything other than having accreditation, and that meaning is losing its value by the year. So don't worry too much about that. With the glorious internet, we have a ridiculous amount of information and learning resources available. So I would just say marketing. Get a lot of people to test your game before you even think about releasing, and don't shy away from harsh criticism. Although, don't cave to harsh criticism either, because I've had a few people who went out of their way to try to dismantle my faith in the game and myself, and it was rather cruel, and I wondered about it at the time. And a couple years later, they actually, one of them apologized and said they were basically trying to lure me away from what I was working on so that I could work on his game. So just because someone's criticizing your game doesn't mean they're doing it with intent to help you. So that was a learning experience, and yeah, that's the biggest thing, is just learning how to take criticism. And one of the best examples of a good outcome is I was watching someone stream. This was a while back, several years back, when the game was still in its fledgling state, and I was really excited because somebody was streaming our game, and he was basically just lambasting it and just making fun of every aspect of it and laughing about it with his friends. And I talked to Rob about it, and we discussed it that night. And after reviewing everything he was mocking, we came up with the mobile gun platform, which is the movable platform that basically spawned every good mechanic since then. Really, the mobile gun platform just opened up this entire new world of moving around and adding the launch pads and giving you so much more flexibility, and adding in all of these new commander specials that work with them. There's this quantum charge. There are a lot of mechanics in this game. Like, we kind of get really excited when we come up with a thing, and then we throw the thing in there, and it's not necessarily super fully explained, but it's in there and it's fun. The quantum charge is where if you boop a guy or ram a guy, we still don't have a proper phrase for that. I just say boop because it's fun. Whenever you do that, you can activate the quantum charge, which basically turns the enemy into a bomb. And so you can launch into a guy, ram him into his buddies, he turns into a bomb and blows them all up. So all of those things would never have been possible. I mean, maybe we would have come up with it on our own, I don't know. But, I mean, yeah, it was a really, really harsh stream. And it probably caused the best, the single best feature we have in our game.
What do you think about current marketing strategies in the indie game industry? Yeah, that must be a hard question if you
Yeah.
if most of your setbacks were in marketing.
I think that when we released 3 years ago, it wasn't as good as it is now. After Steam Greenlight went away and things were less curated, I feel like the market was just inundated, and I was seeing them all the time, and then everything just kind of...
Yeah, since Greenlight is gone, there's a lot of games being released on Steam every day. It was already like a lot, it was already like 20 to 30 games a day, but since Greenlight is gone, it's just, it has exploded. There's so many indies. Even if you would spend time to look at them all every day, you won't be able to know every indie game that's out there.
Right?
Because it's just too many.
I mean, that to give credit to our former selves, when I say we released too early, we didn't just do it because we were excited. We were one of the very, very, very last games to be accepted by Steam Greenlight before they switched to their new system. So we kind of felt like it was a do or die at the time, because obviously the market was just getting absolutely flooded. So our initial intent was to get in before the floodgates were completely open wide. Hindsight, didn't work, but that was the plan. Honestly, I don't really know how to answer this one, because this whole marketing strategy thing has definitely been a learning experience for me. We haven't figured out what works for our game yet, and my current plan is just to try to get things back in place after everything got upended with the sudden move and, you know, pandemic. So we're going to be working with actual industry people who just work on marketing, because I think one of my biggest pitfalls is that I'm so used to being a jack of all trades. I figured, oh, I can just pick this up too. Nope, nope, nope. Need an expert for this. I'm sure I'll be able to pick it up eventually, but this is something where you really need the people who know what they're doing.
Well, with marketing, it's mostly you need to know the rules, and the rules are often more difficult described than they actually are.
And it seems like there's a lot of
described like when I was first reading a book about marketing, and it was like 5 or 6 years ago, way before I started doing it as a job, and I was like, if I read this book in Spanish, I would understand just as much. And then I started doing it, so step for step, and I grabbed the book and I started just doing it on the PC, and I was like, the description is really hard, but doing it's actually pretty easy. So yeah, marketing isn't that hard, they just describe things wrong, and that makes it seem hard.
That's a really, really good description. That's exactly what it is. And I have a tendency to overthink everything. And the few times that I've had great success, like I managed to go viral on Imager a little while back, is when I'm not trying, for lack of a better word, when I don't put as much pressure on myself and I don't feel like everything needs to be perfect. If I just kind of let the words flow and everything like that and not worry about it too much, they tend to do a lot better, because I'm sure people can read that stiffness even if they're not aware of it. You know, it's there's a quote from Half in the Bag on YouTube that I use all the time. It's like, you didn't notice, but your brain did. And I feel like people can tell when things are too carefully curated or too harshly trying to get you to have this certain reaction. But if it's a natural post where it's just like, here's the thing I'm worked on, it's really cool, I've had really good success with that.
Yeah, most of the time it's just showing that you're human and timing.
Yes.
Like,
and
never post anything important on Tuesday. Just don't. Ignore Tuesday entirely, because Tuesday is the worst day for your marketing.
I post dog
pictures. Pay attention, you
Stop
might
that.
learn something.
Put them on Thursday.
I can use
No,
that.
dog pictures can be on Tuesday, because dog pictures aren't advertising my stuff. Dog pictures are because my dog is cute.
Tuesday is the ideal day for dog pictures, because you aren't trying to sell your dog.
Exactly. No one can have my dog shoot mine.
Yeah, same for me. No one can have my dogs. I love them. They're annoying, but I love them. They can stay.
Yep. You are exactly right.
Where do you see the indie game market going in a few years?
Honestly, I'm kind of looking forward to that. I have no idea. I feel like everything's kind of changing. There was just this huge bubble in the market where all the games were coming out at once, and there was a new indie game every 3 seconds, and everything was happening. And then I feel like it is kind of starting to wane, but I don't know if it's actually starting to wane or if it's just I'm noticing them less because I'm just kind of in my niche working on my little game, you know? So far as that one goes, it's been such a ride for me. I haven't the faintest clue, but I'm looking forward to it. It's like, let's see where we end up.
Which game, either indie or AAA, would you wish you had worked on?
Witcher 3. Absolutely. I have lost a couple months of my life to that game. I have absolutely zero regrets. And I would have done anything to work on that game. Yes, it was already done before I was even working in game development, but I'm assuming this question is like hypothetical.
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted, if there was a game in 1980, I mean, I wasn't even born in 1980. But if there was a game in that year you really, really, really liked, and you would have wished you had worked on that, and why not?
Witcher 3, without a shadow of a doubt. That game is everything I could ever want in an RPG, which I never really thought I liked. I played Skyrim, and I liked it okay, but I could never focus on the main quest, and I kept running around and doing everything else besides the main quest, and then I inevitably got bored and walked away from it. But when I started playing Witcher, I was like, okay, I can kind of see how this is pretty good, and then the story just got me, and how much depth is in that game, and how much detail and how much care and just dedication is in that game.
I should have tried that game sometime.
It's the best.
I own it, but I got lost at some point, and I was like, oh fuck it, let's play something else.
I get lost all the time, and I don't regret it, except for that one time that I got lost and ran into some sort of crazy tree golem that was much higher level than me, and he squashed me in one go, so that was fun. And if I was working on the game, I'd probably try to make him slightly less fragile to fall damage, because I feel like he can get stomped on by a golem, and he's fine. But if you fall off a tiny rock, you just die. You just die.
Yeah, that's a video game problem. You can basically be thrown in the air by enemies, but if you fall off stairs, you die.
Yeah, it was...
In real life, you would just break your leg, but in game, you die.
Oh, one of my quickest memories when I was playing is I had put off Skellige for a while, which it's one of the... This won't cause any spoilers for you not having played, other than the fact that you now know there's an island called Skellige. And I put it off because it was the last place to go, so I wanted like one more fun experience, and I put it off, and I'm like, okay, I finally need to get on this ship and go. And I got there, and the music was beautiful. The ambiance was beautiful. It looked like it was supposed to be Scotland. I was just running around, enjoying the views. I'd been looting, having fun. No combat, no nothing. Turned a corner, fell down the cliff, and died.
Yep, that happens to me in RPGs too.
So that was my introduction to Skellige, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna turn that autosave to like every 2 minutes, please. So yeah, Witcher 3, definitely.
Yeah, I had that in Skyrim when I was like walking. Almost all the deaths I had in Skyrim were me falling off cliffs.
Yep, that's The Witcher.
Fighting dragons, fine, no problem. Falling off a cliff there. And is The Witcher 3 also your favorite game of all time, or is that something else?
That's really hard to answer. And I'm sure I'm gonna get some side eyes and disgruntled noises for this next answer, but I'm split evenly between Witcher 3 and Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley was, I got it when it came out, and I was thinking, oh, this looks silly, and it was right smack dab when I was taking care of my aunt at the time. And so everything was kind of dismal in my life. And Stardew Valley was like this most wholesome, amazing experience, and I just love the fact that I can just escape to this nice little idyllic, quaint village town for a little while. So it's like, I don't know how to pick. can I have 2? Because if I can have 2, I'm gonna have Stardew Valley and Witcher, and then Overwatch is a relatively close second.
Okay. You can have 2, that's no problem.
Yay!
You can like multiple games. If everyone only has to play the same games all the time, everyone will stop gaming.
Right?
Playing the same thing all the time is boring.
Eventually, it's boring.
Yeah, the first few weeks it's fun. Then it becomes less fun, and at some point you ask yourself why you're playing. And at some point you just walk outside, go to the forest, and be like, I will just walk here because I'm bored.
Yep. Yeah, with Stardew Valley, it's either I'm binging it and renovating my farm and making everything pretty, or I don't touch it at all. Like, that's not a casual game for me. I'm either all in or not. Witcher, I really like the fact that there's an adventure under literally every nook and cranny. There might be too many quests in that game, because seeing all those question marks in my maps, like, there's still so much to explore. But I like that when I need a break, I can just go and choose a question mark on my map. It's like, let's go see what's under here. And sometimes it's a quest, sometimes it's a monster I need to kill, sometimes it's buried treasure. I never really know, and I like that. So it's like they're two very different experiences. And Overwatch is great when you're playing and you're buzzed on the weekends and you're playing with your friends. So very different experience. Three different life experiences, 3 games.
Enjoy Overwatch.
Hey, you know, I can send you my battle tag and let's play, because it's fun.
Oh yeah, I can send you mine too. That's good.
I'm not good at it, but I have fun.
I own the game. I've never played it.
You've never played?
I've never played Overwatch.
All right, I'll be your pocket mercy to make sure you don't die. We'll play.
I'm pretty decent at shooters. I do decent at Call of Duty, so I know how to hold a controller basically, but I never started Overwatch because I don't have friends that have Overwatch. All my friends are boring. They are either playing on a PlayStation because they can't afford a PC, or they play totally different games than I do, and I'm like, why?
I get that.
Why aren't my friends more like me?
That's a almost daily refrain of mine, but luckily I have a few like-minded Overwatch friends. So hit me up, we will play, and yes, you may know Call of Duty, we'll start you on Soldier 76, but I'm just gonna laugh when a Roadhog hooks you, because I have not played Call of Duty, but I have seen it, and I think it's a different experience.
Well, we will see it. I believe Overwatch is easier, it looks easier than Call of Duty.
It's almost assuredly easier.
Yeah,
mostly because everyone's an idiot.
Yeah, well, in Call of Duty there's people that stand on the roof, stay on that same roof, shoot people from there, and then you walk up to them on the behind, and you kill them with a knife because they are too stupid to turn around. That's Call of Duty. It's mostly hunting people that stand in one place because they are too stupid to move around, and that's the ones you kill.
Yeah, and Overwatch, you can kill anyone who can't hit the broadside of a barn, which is most people at my rank, because I continually play my placements when I'm drinking with my friends on the weekends, so my placements are never good. And yeah, most people just kind of are having fun and they're trying their best, and their best is just questionable, you know? But yeah, it's bright and it's fun, so it's a good experience. And I do like how they have so many varied mechanics. They recently released a new DPS called Echo, and she has these sticky bombs that are my favorite thing ever.
Is she
Except
free?
they do.
Is she free?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, all the characters are free. You basically just buy the game and you get everything. But the sticky bombs are awesome. They do self-damage. I've killed myself more than once. And then she also has like a death beam, where if somebody's under 50% health, you hit them with the death beam and they basically just die. So she's really fun. She's like a glass cannon though. She dies really easily. But anyways.
You really like seeing things die, don't you?
Yeah! It is the point of a shooter, is it not?
True. Like in Payday 2, the bodies stay behind, and that's really fun. If everything you shoot just lays there, it doesn't go away. It's really fun to see how much you killed at the end of a game.
That is not the case here. The ironic thing is I sound so happy murdery. I'm a Mercy main. I mostly just heal. I'm a healer 90% of the time.
Yeah, I'm really the guy that goes in with a big gun, shoots everything around him, and at some point dies because I was like looking the wrong way or anything.
Time for explosion.
And I'm the one who's healing your ass, and I'll hide behind a rock and res you if you happen to die in a
See,
convenient location.
We would be the perfect match. I would be the one killing everyone, and you would keeping me alive.
Yep, that's literally my job as Mercy.
Okay. What is your favorite video game of this year and why?
Of this year, I don't actually know if I've played a game that came out this year.
Yeah, well, you can also do something else, but basically the question is, what game did you enjoy most this year? So what did you play this year which you really liked?
Let's see. Well, in that case, you know what? I'm gonna have to say Slime Rancher. I picked it up when it was on sale, thinking it was like a Stardew Valley kind of knockoff, and it wasn't. It was a whole different experience.
Yeah,
and it
that
was
game is completely different from Stardew Valley, indeed.
very different. I didn't know what I was doing, and I accidentally had a bunch of tar slimes on my very first farm, and just everything died, so that was fun. And so I restarted, and I learned, and I researched, and that was a really fun game. I ended up, the only thing I didn't like is it was too short. Like, I went nuts just having fun with all of the, unlocking all the new biomes, and finding all the new slimes, and then I got to the final room, and I'm like, oh my god, and then the game was over. I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done this whole thing in a week.
I had that. I had a mobile game where you have characters and they have levels. And at some point I had a lot of fun with that game for almost a year. And I played like every day for like 20 minutes. Because it's a mobile game, you don't put a lot of time in it every day. And at some point I had every character on the maximum level and maximum upgraded, and I was like, there's no game left.
Yeah.
And I just quit that same day. I've never played it again because there was nothing left for me to do. I already had everything on the highest level, so there was nothing left I could do.
That's what I'm scared about with Witcher 3. I'm specifically leaving a few quests, undone, because I want to go back and do it, so I feel like I'm going so slow on that game. It's like I learned from my prior experiences, like I will not consume this entire game in a week.
Well,
So
I don't
I
think
still
you
have a
can
bunch.
do The Witcher 3 in a week.
No, that would be terrifying. A month, 2 months, whatever. I'm leaving a lot. I'm enjoying that game at the pace it was supposed to be enjoyed, whereas every other game I play, I'm usually like, give it all to me, and then I don't touch it again forever.
Yeah, like last year I had a game that seemed to be kind of based on Devil May Cry, and at first it was like really boring, but I was interested enough to play through the end. And when I hit the end I was like, oh, was that everything? Why did I bother finishing this?
Aw, I was hoping it was gonna be all worth it.
No, it really wasn't. It looked really good, but at the start it was like really boring. It was mostly a walking simulator at that point. And they introduced more and more enemies, and that was fine. I mean, that meant fighting and everything. That was a little bit more fun. But the fighting was so easy, like the enemies would die as soon as you touched them basically, and your character was like super powerful and could be hit 1,000,000 times before dying. I don't think I even died once in the whole game, so...
That's
So,
a little
yeah,
too easy.
Yeah, that
That
happens.
was definitely a little too easy.
But I played through it in about 2 days, so... it was
Oh,
really
wow.
quick.
Well, at least you got it done, like, quickly.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't waste a lot of time on it, and I think it was a nice experience, but because I basically got slapped in my face with like a game that looks good doesn't have to be good.
That's always that always makes me sad when it's like a game looks amazing and you're expecting like it to just wow you in every way, and then you play, it's like, oh, it looks great, but there's nothing.
Yeah, I was really glad that I was given that game for free as a press copy.
Ah, that's good.
Yeah.
That way at least you don't have to regret it.
Yeah, it was like, okay, I uninstalled it. It was an experience. I will never play it again. I write a review about it, and that is everything I do with it. It was really, really bad.
They
I
can't-
think
they
if they
can't
would
love you.
just have added like more enemies or make it harder to defeat them and have the character not that overly powerful, just be a bit weaker, die earlier, that sort of stuff, I think it would be a lot of fun. Because the graphics were there, it just needed the adjustment basically.
Yeah, if you feel OP, it's really no fun. It's like, it's
Yeah,
maybe fun for 5 minutes.
It was like you're playing God himself, yeah, a little. He was so incredibly strong. I don't think he would even die if you just put him in the middle of a group of enemies and go to the toilet.
Yeah, I think that might be a little bit too OP. I feel like if you decide to go to the toilet in front of a large group of enemies, you deserve to die. I'm just saying, you deserve to
You
die.
do deserve to die at that point, but I think in that game you would not die if that happens. That's how easy that game was. It was just so easy. It was boring because of it. The story was pretty good. In general, the game wasn't that bad. It was just that it was so easy. Don't make your games easy, people, or just add an easy mode. If someone wants to play on really easy, that's fine. But don't leave it on really easy. Make sure there's a harder mode that people
Yes.
can enjoy and aren't bored because there's simply nothing really they can do.
You know, that's the one thing about Witcher. I was playing on the second lowest difficulty, and I was starting to get cocky and like, oh yeah, I got this. I bumped up the difficulty. Oh my god, I immediately died like 5 times. Like, let me go back to that easy point. I wanted to like be fun, but not just smack me down.
Exactly. Like everyone has their own skills in gaming, so for one person an easy game will be hard enough to enjoy. And for others, that easy mode is just too easy. So there have to be multiple modes. There has to be the option to play on a higher difficulty for people that have more skill.
Yes. That is exactly right.
But we don't have any questions anymore, so is there more things you want to say?
I can use that.
Well, basically, if anyone's listening to this and has made it to the end, thank you. And Sentinels is available on early access now. And we're, like I said, we are hoping to get out of early access within the next year, assuming this pandemic thing doesn't get worse. Fingers crossed.
It's already getting less in Europe.
I don't want to talk about what's happening in America. So, assuming
Let's
the
not,
world
because
doesn't-
then we have another 2-hour video.
let's assume that everything is going to go back to normal and the game will be released in about a year, feature complete. And if you're interested in the game, if this looks fun, give it a try and let us know what you think, because that's the most important thing. When people let us know, good or bad or terrible, whatever you think, all of that will help us make the game better. And we really, really want to get the best experience possible. So I'm assuming there will be links. I'm sure you can find Sentinels somewhere around this video.
Yes, the links will be in the description of the video and on the bottom of the article on the website.
All right. And thank you very much.
No problem.